STEP back in the summer of '95. And I graduated from UCSB in '99. I studied psychology and Spanish psychology because I wanted to be a therapist, but along the way I realized that wasn't for me. In Spanish because I love to read. And like I said, I graduated in '99. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And then a job opportunity opened up in the college as an advising associate. So one of like the 4 people when you walk into the college advising office that greet you. And I did that job for about 4.5 years. And then finally, one of the advisors retired because back then it was hard to get an advisor position in the college. And I've been an academic advisor. So I've been in the college since 2001. And I've been an academic advisor. I'm trying to see which kid I had. I think it was Conchita, right, Jack?
Yeah, I think so.
So that was 2005. And yeah, so I work closely with EOP students and international students.
Do you want me to go, Miguel?
I always forget that. I'm an academic advisor in the College of Letters and Science. My name is Miguel Moran Lanier. I am a first-generation non-traditional student. In my case, what that means is actually dropped out of high school in Mexico, swore I would never go back to school, came back to the US, worked for a while and realized, no, I need to go back to school for a variety of reasons. So I started community college when I was 25, transferred here to UCSB in 98. And no, I did not go to STEP with Paula. She always just thought that we went to STEP together.
We have this joke. I guess I met him when he worked at the Office of Student Life, and I don't know why I thought I had met him in STEP, but there's no way that could have happened because he was a transfer student. So I think then, one of our EOP presentations, I said that we met. He's like, no, we didn't.
And I graduated. I finished in the fall of 1999. So I was here roughly about 1.5 years. I graduated a little bit early, which I regret, going through it so fast. And then I started working in the Office of Student Life, as Ozzy mentioned. And then I started working in the College of Letters and Science in 2007. During this time, I got my master's in education. And a few minutes ago, I was still working on my dissertation because I'm working on my doctorate, which I plan to finish this summer. And yeah, that's me.
Okay, I'm Jack. I'm old. I've been here forever. The mountains were only hills when I was a student at UCSB. I was a first-generation high school graduate in my family. And I'm the youngest of all my cousins. And sometimes by 20 years, I'm the youngest. But no one in my family, either side, had ever graduated from high school. And unfortunately, since me, I would say maybe only 1/3 of my nieces, nephews, grandnieces, grandnephews, and even their kids have graduated from high school. So I'm definitely like a poster child for first generation. I delayed my attendance at UCSB because I was too busy being young and active and dumb. I did a lot of different things. I was a musician. I was a professional athlete. I did all kinds of crazy, weird things to prevent growing up. But at 24, my partner convinced me it was time to do something else, more adult-like. And I said, well, I don't want to do that. I'll go to college. So I went to college at 24, came to UCSB, graduated with a double major, almost a triple major here. I've been to either professional school or graduate school 3 times. I was trying to prevent becoming an adult as much as possible. So I just kept going to school, going to school, going to school. I have been here for almost as many years as Paula has been alive. I came to work here in 1979. So 41 years. I'm one of the people who invented Education 20 and Education 118. And in fact, for STEP, myself and Richard Terioka, Ozzy will remember, were two of the people who created the STEP transitions class. I was one, so I've been around a long time. I got a lot of useful and useless information in here. So you can pretty much ask me anything and I probably have something to say about it. I'm extremely opinionated, as Paula and Miguel will attest. It's hard to bring anything up in staff meeting because I probably have an opinion.
Thanks, Jack. We look forward to that today. So now if we could have the peers introduce themselves, and as you say a little bit about yourself, perhaps, you know, where you come from if you're first generation, and then, you know, do you have any siblings? But also, what kind of campus jobs have you had? And you know, what kind of training have you had to go along with it? And what are your other areas of expertise on campus? For example, you know, beyond employment, perhaps leadership organization positions or anything like that. Yeah. Who wants to start?
Don't be shy.
I can go first because I will leave soon. My name is Chen Ting and I'm from Lindsay in Central Valley. Like all of you, I'm also first gen in college. Yeah, I'm double majoring in math science and data science. What else? I need to, oh, okay. So at school, prior job is that's attendance in St. Nicholas. Yeah, also like helping people when they have question regarding like housing or anything. And besides that, I also be part of the CSSA, is a Chinese Student and Scholar Association. I was part doing like promote culture between Chinese student and other foreign student who want to know more about Chinese culture. That's, I think it's really meaningful. Yeah.
And you mentioned you worked in housing?
Yeah. St. Nicholas. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
This is what I want to share.
Hi. My name is Iklali Mesa. Pronouns are she, her, hers, ella. I am from the Coachella Valley and I am an incoming third year. I'm majoring in chemistry with a minor in education and sciences. This is my first job, like, honestly, like throughout my whole life. I've always helped my mom though, like growing up in her childcare business. So I always put that as like experience because like it's helped me like mentor like kids and stuff. Organizations that I've been a part of is the period chapter at UCSB. And I also, this incoming year, I'm going to start a club with my friend. It's SACA, so it's Students Against Child Abuse because of everything that's been going on in the media. And yeah.
Thank you.
Hey, my name is Henry Gonzalez. I'm an incoming third year. My major is psychology and brain sciences, and I'm minoring in Spanish. When it comes to where I'm actually from Menifee, California. And then when it comes to job on campus, it's actually my first job on campus. When it comes to prior experience, most of the experience I've gotten within an org I'm associated with. I'm a part of a fraternity. And I've done community service, I've done outreaches. We've hosted events in which we focus on resume building in order to help the incoming freshmen that do decide to join our org. And hopefully they're able to apply in other jobs as well. At the moment, that's about it, yeah.
Which fraternity?
Sigma Delta Alpha is a multicultural fraternity.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Diane Nizan. Pronouns are she, her, hers. Hi, Jack. I don't know if you remember me.
Yes.
But I met him before. So basically my major, I'm a global studies major and I'm minoring in applied psychology and German studies. I've held a lot of on-campus jobs since my freshman year. So I used to work at campus dining. And so I was an associate and I would work in the kitchen and I would actually like make the food that you would see in the arbor or in the corner store. So I was really putting in work. And then after that, I worked at the corner store. And so I was actually doing the register and stocking. And then after that, I got promoted to be a, a student assistant in the office. And so I would actually, what is it called? I would do like office work, and I helped actually like hire some students to like get the job. So it was like human resource work, and I was just helping with the paperwork and the applications. And then, yeah, during the summer, I would work at the Boys and Girls Club of Santa Barbara in Goleta. And I really liked it a lot. It was just for one summer, but I have a lot of work experience with kids ages like 6 through 13. Yeah, I really like working with kids. On top of that, I can't remember anything else on the top of my head. But yeah, I'm also in a student organization called Girl Up, and so we're a United Nation organization. Basically, we help we help give money to girls in third world countries and like help them with their education. So like we do fundraisers and we like make little bracelets to kind of like spread awareness, and we use that money towards them. Yeah, I recently was abroad in Germany like the first half of this year, but then when Corona happened, I had to come back. So it was a really fun time before everything happened. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to being a peer mentor and helping out FSSP students.
Bet you didn't think I'd still be a part of your life after we met
I know,
3
I
years
was not
ago.
expecting that. I was not.
Thank you all for sharing. The goal of the presentation in general is to help you prepare to engage with students, in particular during the summer, and to sort of convey the basics that you will need to support students in their transition. Not just in the summer though, but transition in general, because of course they're going to ask you a lot of questions about what am I going to do next, and going from there. So let's see, why don't we start by talking about the dynamics of academic concerns, for people transitioning from high school to college, and then on top of that, those that are transitioning straight into accelerated summer sessions, which is summer session B. Jack, do you want to mention the analogy that you were making in terms of time?
Sure. So one of the big adjustments, hopefully you can recall this for yourselves, is the adjustment to the quarter system. It's, I don't know how much it spun your head when you first came here, but one of the things I share with students, not to scare them, but to give them a reality check. So hopefully I say it in a way that doesn't scare them. What you do in a quarter is really the equivalent of what you do in an entire year of high school. That's why a year of a language is only a quarter here. A quarter of US history is probably what you read in a whole year in US history in high school. So it's very fast. It's extremely theoretical. We're a theory-based school, not a teaching-based school. And coming in summer, it's highly accelerated. So the scary part is high school is usually 34 to 36 weeks. So you're doing in 34 to 36 weeks of high school what you do in 10 weeks in a regular quarter. And now you're going to do it in 6 weeks. So it's really about discipline. And the more they can begin to catch on to that component of it, I think the easier the transition is. And we'll get to this other point a little later, but also being in a pandemic and being virtual is another layer. But I was going to address particularly the speed aspect and the need to be very, very disciplined, because nobody's looking over your shoulder. You need to be on it. So I'll let one of my colleagues take over with the next part.
Paula, do you want to mention another aspect? Do you want to talk about another aspect that students tend to look to peers for, and that is, what do I do? What do I take, and course recommendations in general?
Right. So sometimes you'll see some departments actually have recommended schedules even on their websites. And we like to tell students that that's just a recommendation. Students don't necessarily have to take like what people consider like the typical bio schedule in math. Like, we tailor advising more to the individual student. So just because some of their friends are taking chemistry and math, that doesn't mean that that's the ideal load for everyone. Actually, during my my freshman year, I convinced one of my friends that I met at STEP to take Psychology 1 with me during winter quarter, because that was my major. She was an English major, and I wanted a buddy. Well, she did take the class with me, and she ended up failing the class. And she didn't talk to me for a couple of weeks in the spring quarter. She was so mad at me. And I mean, I did fine in psychology. I really liked it. But as some of you may know, with psychology, a lot of the classes, 40% of your grade is based on the midterm, 60% is based on the final. And with an English major, the classes are not structured like that at all. So I always tell students, your friends mean well, but just because they think something is easy, that may not necessarily be the same case for you.
Yeah, and I'll talk about the next part. So the next part has to do with advising in general, and really, this kind of dynamic that often students come with, that they often think of like the college office, the dean's office, as sort of like the principal's office. That's a place that I don't want to be in. That's a place that I'm kind of worried about. So, but we're here to help students in a variety of ways. We help them not only, when they're experiencing some sort of difficulty, to help them out of that difficulty, but we're also helping them to go beyond that and kind of look for opportunities for enrichment. For now, I'll just address the difficult part. Ultimately, no matter what it is that we're addressing, the only reason we're here is to help students succeed and get where they want to go. So it's really important that if you ever were to see a student that is experiencing academic difficulties, that you encourage them to go to the College of Letters and Science to speak to an advisor. There are several things, and of course, connecting with EOP and other units as well. EOP will help them with their overall life goals, but there are certain intricacies about amending their schedule that, because those decisions happen in the college, we can help them kind of maneuver the intricacies of that. So that might mean sometimes helping the student figure out if they want to drop a course or if they want to do an incomplete, right? So, we want students to not be afraid of us. So often it happens that, students will come in and talk to us, after experiencing some sort of difficulty, and they say, oh my goodness, I'm kicking myself because I didn't come sooner. I wish I would have come sooner. And that's a sort of experience that all of us as advisors share. So one of the deadlines we wanted to share for this summer, to think of, often, students see a drop deadline and they say, oh my goodness, I missed the drop deadline, I'm in trouble, it's too late, I can't do anything. But if they come to see an advisor, we would tell them, oh, you know what, we have this lenient late drop that actually we have all the way up to the grading option deadline, that if you need to drop a course for any reason, we will approve it up to the grading option deadline. This is for non-repeats, since it's their first summer, right? Anything they take, they can drop. And students get 3 of those. while they're at UCSB. So, but these are the little details that students might not be immediately aware of. So the important thing to remember is that if a student is ever in trouble, just refer them to us, and we can kind of help explore their options, and we'll tailor those options to their individual needs and their goals and their circumstances. Now, who wants to talk about the fun stuff?
Well, I could talk a little bit about what it's like in a COVID situation.
Oh, sure.
So, you know, they've all done this, assuming they were all in the United States when they were going to school at some point, and even some other countries if we have any students who are away. So they have a sense of what this is like, but again, they don't have a sense of what it's like with these kinds of demands, because it's so different being here at the university, as I stated earlier. It's really about getting them to understand how much is dependent upon themselves and how much they need to be organized, structured, and really attend to things when they need to be done. And that's going to be tough for some of them. Some of them are their living situation perhaps is not the most ideal for studying. They may live in a household where there's tons of people and they have no privacy. And so they got little niños running around their feet when they're trying to do their homework. You know, their brothers and sisters or dogs and cats and whatever else is in the house. Their connectivity might not be ideal. So it's really imperative that they be disciplined for themselves and that they utilize whatever resources they need that's available through the campus, through their instructors, and through their TAs. You need to instill upon them, this is not about being independent. I like to say it's really about being interdependent. Rely on the resources that are there to help you, and really have them reach out to you, to us, to EOP, to the professors, to CLAS, whatever resource you can think of that might assist them with making this transition. Get them to understand that that's really a point of strength to be willing to ask for help. It's not a negative situation. It's not a less than situation. It's taking advantage of what's here. So the more you can get them to do that, I think the easier the transition will be. Miguel or Paula, do you have anything else?
I would just add, you know, along with what Jack is saying, to help students remember, you know, a lot of times we think of self-reliance as like, okay, I'm going to go there and I can do this and I can do this alone. And if I ask for help, it means that I can't do it. But self-reliance in this environment is very, very different. Self-reliance here means that students have to think of all their resources as tools in their toolkit, right? And you need a hammer for this, you need a saw for that, right? You need a jackhammer for this, jackhammer. But the point is that students need to avail themselves of all the resources at their disposal to be self-reliant. So, and your role, right, is crucial in helping them feel comfortable, but also telling them that it's okay to connect with advisors, to connect with CAPS, to connect with, they're already in EOP because they're talking to you, but with all those other resources. Yeah. Paula, do you want to talk about the other fun stuff that we do as advisors?
Yeah, so we're not just the principal's office. So we don't just help them with academic planning, trying to figure out like what courses they should take together, which ones to avoid taking together. But we also have other programming, like Miguel helps students who are interested in law school. So we have pre-law advising. We have 2 advisors that are dedicated to helping students who are interested in health professions, so medical school, dental school, nursing, all of that. And not just in terms of telling them what classes they have to take, but also what other enrichment opportunities they should be taking advantage of. And it's not just for these particular programs, but just in general, looking into research, looking into community service opportunities, also employment opportunities. So just like you all are working with EOP, we also have peer advisors in the College of Letters and Science. So it is important that they reach out not to just get that academic support, but also to learn about all the other opportunities that UCSB has to offer.
And do you want to talk about some of the resources? Maybe, Paula, if you want to address the Math Lab and Math Lab, and Jack, maybe talk about OMDAS and CLAS?
Sure. Go ahead, Paula.
I'm not sure if you know this already, but we encourage students who are taking math classes to take advantage of the Math Lab that's offered through the mathematics department. They're still having it right now, even though students don't actually go into a room to get help. But they have graduate students available to help answer any questions. So I always tell students, when you're doing your homework for math, do it at the Math Lab or during the Math Lab hours right now. And that way, if they have any questions, they have someone there that can answer their questions right away. Physics does the same thing. It's called the Physics Lab. So again, I would encourage you to encourage the students to do their homework during these hours. And again, these are all available even while we're doing this remote learning.
Okay, CLAS is the Campus Learning and System Services, as you all know. And contrary to popular belief, it's a plus to go get help. I've heard so many students go, well, I don't need a tutor. I can figure this out myself. They do so much more than tutor, as you're aware. So the more you can instill in them that it's the really good student who utilized their services, maybe you can convince them to go. I mean, I wish the students who weren't doing well would go to them. But actually, the average GPA of the student who utilizes their services is higher than the students who don't use their services. So, you want to make sure you get an A if you're a B student, use class. You want to make sure you get a B if you're a C student, use class. So really get them to understand the wide variety of services that they offer. It's not just tutoring. There's writing skills, there's the Math Lab, as Paula mentioned, there's all kinds of things. Time management, I mean, you name it, they have it there as it pertains to how to be a productive student. So get them, again, to be interdependent, utilize the resources. CLAS is a positive tool for them. There's also OMDAS.
Oh, can I add something about CLAS?
Yeah, go ahead.
I always push the one-on-one study skills consultation because sometimes students say, well, I am studying. And I tell them, okay, if you are putting in the work, but you're not getting the grades that you think you should be getting, definitely do the one-on-one consultation.
Let me put in a shameless plug. My kid, which was my student, I guess, does this for a living. He's got a website. You should look it up. Smith Rivas, SMITHRIVAS. If you plug it in, it's the first thing that'll come up, which he's very proud of. He is a study skills guru. He's a savant when it comes to study skills. He used to do that at UCSB. And then he thought, what the hell? I can make way more money doing this for myself. So he left. And he works with professional school, graduate school, college, high school, middle school students all over the country. Now, he doesn't like this part. Don't pay him anything. Do all the stuff that he has on his website that's free. Get students to utilize all that stuff. And he's fine with that. If they never give him a nickel, he's okay. He wants people to get the most out of their education. So that's another resource. And he used to do that job with CLAS before Jay. Actually, Jay had the job, Jay Stemmel, if you know who she is. Then she left, and my son had that job for years. Ozzy knows him. And then he left, and Jay came back. So he really does know what he's talking about. But yourselves included, use the free stuff on his website. You'll get much, much more out of your education. But another place is OMDAS Center. I'm actually the liaison to the Ondas Center from the college. And even during the summer, 3 days a week, they can call me, ask me questions as they're here for session B or just waiting to come back to school. They do a lot of excellent programming, lots of excellent programming. So tell them to look out for that as well. Get on their mailing list, and every month they send out a whole flurry of activities that they're providing for their students who are all first gen. Some of it is career oriented, some of it's academic oriented, some of them is life skill oriented. So they have a wide variety of activities. But if they're first generation, which many of them are going to be, have them sign up to be on the Ondas distribution list so they can get all those activities. And then once we get back to campus, tell them to come hang out in my office and come see me over there. We got lots of fun over there at Ondas.
And the other thing we want to talk about is, in addition to taking advantage of all these wonderful resources they have, a resource that is highly, highly, highly underutilized is professors and TAs' office hours. In particular, professors' office hours. It is extremely important for students to begin engaging with their professors in class as early as possible. Now, I'm going to talk about a dynamic in general outside of the context of remote instruction, as a foundation for the other. But what tends to happen when a student goes to talk to a professor for office hours, especially, and this is key, if they're asking in-depth and complex questions, right, that they've gotten from the readings and the assignments. Professors love those kinds of questions, and they engage with students in a completely different way, and they elaborate on information they've gotten from they provided in class, and then so students end up with a much more nuanced understanding of the material. And right off the bat, that's going to help academically. The other thing that happens when a student goes into office hours is that their professors will immediately begin to recognize them. As human beings, we are wired to recognize faces, right? So if somebody were in Campbell Hall, right, lecturing, and a student has been going to office hours regularly, they might be, if they're sitting kind of in the center, when professors are lecturing, they can't help it. Their gaze will fall on faces they recognize, right? It's unavoidable. And what that happens is that, sometimes professors call students, right? And who are they going to call? They're typically going to make a general call, but they will stare down the person they recognize. And that person will feel compelled to respond. So people's focus in class, it's sort of like the fight or flight response, it becomes immediately sharper. So engagement in class and focus in class, there's no dozing off anymore because they know they're going to be called on at any moment. So engaging with faculty at that level, and there's multiple layers, but that helps. Now, I mentioned in person, but this can also help in Zoom when they're looking at a checkboard of faces, and because people want to see faces, and they'll probably do that. And guess what? They're still probably going to call every once in a while on those people that they recognize. And that's just one layer, right? Then beyond that, getting to know them, then you end up having these conversations. They end up recommending cool stuff that you hadn't thought of. Later on, it'll create opportunities for somebody to reach out to do independent research. We won't go into detail about that. I mean, you should all be doing independent research or thinking about it, but it's too early to talk to students about independent research, but this is a foundation for that. And of course, they feel much comfortable going to see their TAs for office hours, but they're still intimidated with the notion of seeing a professor. But the reality is most professors are like, just their office hours go underutilized, and they're just wondering why students don't come and see them. So it helps on multiple levels, but at the most basic level, it helps students boost their GPA. Yeah. So that's something, if you can convey that to students, that among other resources, that office hours are an incredible resource. If you could do that, that would help tremendously. Anything you want to add about that before we go to the next one? Anybody?
No. I
Paula,
see Henry and I have a brotherhood here.
Paula, do you want to talk about, not getting stuck in this idea of requirements, understanding them, but going beyond them?
Yeah. So I don't know if you've heard this yet, but we talk about it a lot in the college in terms of just like units and requirements and things like that. We get a lot of questions and students express concern over this because when they start, they want to jump in and take classes that will fulfill their major requirements and GE requirements. And they're always saying, I want to take this class, but it doesn't fulfill anything. And we always reassure them, if they're pursuing a Bachelor of Arts degree, about 1/3 of their units will be dedicated to their major, about 1/3 to general education requirements, and 1/3 will go towards electives. And it's just classes that they take just to have enough units to graduate. So I always tell students, you can't go wrong during FSSP or even your first quarter at UCSB. If you want to take a class that looks fun, do it. Because if all they focus on is their major and GE, they won't have enough units for graduation. If they're pursuing a Bachelor of Science degree, 2/3 of their units will count for their major. About 1/6 will be for electives. So they still have a little bit of room to put in those electives that they want to take. And then about 1/6 will count for general education requirements. So it is important that they balance out their schedule. We don't want them to be taking all major classes all the time. I know for some of the STEM majors, they do need to take at least 1 or 2 major classes each quarter, but it is important that they balance those out with GEs and electives, because sometimes students forget about the electives. So we've been, I don't know if you know, but we've been helping students choose their classes at orientation, and then we help them on registration day, and we've just been pushing that a lot. Like, yes, if you want to take a major course, that's fine. If you want to take a PE, that's fine, but don't forget about your elective courses.
Yeah, so the general sense that we try to convey, especially at this level, is we want students to start by exploring their individual interests, whatever that means, as much as possible. Like Paula said, if they're in STEM majors and they have heavy sequential, a lot of sequences to follow, they should start with those, but there is space to explore things. They don't just have to do major courses. They don't just have to do GEs, right? So in general, the goal is start with your interests as much as possible and think of requirements second, right? The idea behind that, is don't let school get in the way of your education. Jack, I think I heard this from you somewhere at some point, or from, I don't know, I think you're one of the people I heard this from, but I love that, because what we want students to think about is, yes, you have all your GE requirements, you have the major requirements, you have these checklists of things that you have to do, but the general education program itself has enough variety in there so that students can explore their interests. So rather than thinking, I have area D left, I'm just going to take this course, I don't know what it's about, but it's an area D and I'll knock it off, right?
Yeah.
That is not a good idea, because when people are pursuing their interests, when people do something that they have to do, right? When something is required, and they're not that into it, they'll do an adequate job because they have to do it. But when we do something because we want to do it, we go above and beyond the requirements, and it's in doing so that you're really excelling. So look for those opportunities, encourage students to look for those opportunities within the structure to explore their interests as much as possible. And like Paula said, and for most people, right, that are doing BAs, an entire third, that's 60 of 180 units, are pure electives. So this is their opportunity to tailor their academic program to pursue their own individual curiosity and academic interests. The more they do that, the more successful they will be in the long run. Now, is there?
Yeah. Can I
Go ahead,
just
please.
add on that? One of the things I like to tell students is, especially if you're a humanities and a social science student, this 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 is why it's so easy to double major or major and minor. So you're just making very focused decisions about what you do with your electives. So you add another major, you add a minor, or you add 2 minors. It really makes your education for you. In fact, for many students, I tell them that what you do with your electives defines what you did with your education. Because there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of biology majors. They all look alike. What did you do with your electives? That's what distinguishes you. That's why I'm such an advocate for getting everything you can out of your education. Whether it's skills, whether it's personal interest, there's nothing wrong with taking something for personal interest. I have to admit, I'm not a big fan of the LASAR, which has all the general education requirements in it, because far too many students make only decisions but based on what's in LASAR. I wish we would burn it and throw it away. You're going to get the general stuff done. That's why we're here, the professional staff, to make sure you get it done. Make your education yours. The more you can make it yours, the more you'll be able to sell yourself when you have to do that, to go to grad school, to go to professional school, to get a job. What makes you different than the 200 bio majors who graduated in your class, the 200 accounting majors who graduated in your class? Why are you different? That's how you're different. You show them the wide range of skills and educational opportunities you took advantage of.
Thank you. And picking up on the idea of what to do with your electives, yes, you can do multiple programs, but encourage people to separate the notion of quality and quantity.
Yes.
More is not necessarily better. I mean, if somebody loves 2 majors and they would take everything on those major sheets just for fun, absolutely. Do it for that reason, but not because it's going to look better for employment later, because it doesn't. It doesn't make you more competitive for grad school. It's a personal decision. Another way to individualize and tailor your academic program to your interests and your goals is to think of a particular area that interests you, just an area in general, and find out how the folks in anthropology are looking at it, and sociology, arts, psychology, communications, you name it. In that way, what you're doing is that you are exploring your own academic interest in your own way and getting a really broad sense of this one field, a multidisciplinary sense of this one field beyond what a single major could offer. Because a major, what is it? A major is a combination of courses, a list of courses that a committee of people somewhere decided this is a good overview of the field for the general population. But you guys are not the general population, you're you, right? So it's really difficult sometimes for students straight out of a can to find a major that they absolutely love. In fact, sometimes, many times students struggle with that. So if a student is struggling with that at the beginning, don't worry, tell them not to worry about it. It's okay, for example, to be undeclared and explore, right? And that's why they go see advisors in multiple departments to explore their interests and where they want to go. But seizing on this idea of I must have a major right away can be counterproductive to the process of exploring their individual interests. Nevertheless, send them to advisors everywhere to kind of start that conversation. You are the first, the first point of contact, because they feel comfortable with you. So in a sense, your role is to serve as a liaison and a connection to connect them with other resources and say, it's okay. We're talking and it's great, but there's also this person that can help you with this and this person that can help you with that. And you're kind of introducing them to a host of other resources in the process.
I have one more thing. And then I always like to use my family as an example because we're all weird. Of my partner, my son and my daughter, who Ozzy knows both, and myself, none of us went to college to get a job. We never ever thought, what are we going to do with this? We went to learn, to grow, and to develop, and to really solidify who we were as people. And either fortunately or unfortunately, our kids had us for parents, so that's what they did when they went to school. And it's very peculiar, so I will acknowledge that all four of us, three of the four of us, have advanced degrees, and those advanced degrees have absolutely nothing to do with our undergraduate degrees. And the careers that we have chosen for ourselves, me for an eternity, them for a short while, my son is 41, my daughter's 33, the careers that they have absolutely nothing to do with any of their undergraduate degrees or any of their advanced degrees. That's not why they went. They went for all these other reasons that we talk about: personal exploration, personal growth, getting skills. That's what they went. They were smart enough to understand they could translate that into anything they wanted to do. And my son, one of his majors was even STEM. And he didn't do it because he thought about a job. He did it because he was good at it and he enjoyed it. And so that's what he did. So if you got weird people who don't know what they want to do, send them to me. I'll talk to them and show them you're perfect just the way you are. You'll figure it out.
And another thing we talk about a lot is a BS is not better than a BA, because students will think, oh, I want to do a BS because I'll be able to get a job or I'll be able to get into a grad program with a BS, but that's not true. Your major, for the most part, will not matter. It's not just what you do with your major, but also those enrichment opportunities that will really set you apart, as Miguel and Jack pointed out.
Yeah, if you're reading what you like in your classes, you got the right major. If you're dreading everything you're reading in your classes, you should think twice about that.
Yeah. All right, we can keep going on and on and on. We would love to hear any of your questions and concerns. Yes.
So in that vein, I was actually thinking about this as all of you were talking, and one of the things that I see repeatedly, and I think it's part of that mentality of being a high school student and transitioning to college, is students will show up in our advising office and they'll say, well, tell me what you take. Tell me what you take. And they keep repeating it. I was like, no, like you said, Jack, is like, no, I want you to think about what you're interested in. No, but I have to take 2 from area E. It's like, I know what you have to take. But they insist, like, tell me what to take. And I was like, the other day, I was like, oh my God, I get it. When I was in high school, the counselor told me, you need to take this class, you need to take this class, or else you won't graduate. So now they're superimposing the only experience they know onto all of us in the college setting. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, we've been dealing with that a lot in the college. And I mean, I had one kid in elementary. He's now starting junior high, a high schooler, and then my other one's at SBCC, Santa Barbara City College. And like the whole time, it's like, parents, check your students' grades. Parents, you need to do this. You need to do this. And they're telling them exactly what classes to take. Even their elective course, which they don't have as many electives as we did when we were in high school, telling them exactly what to take. And then suddenly they come to UCSB and we expect them to make their own decisions. That's not. And the parents are not going to cut the umbilical cord because we've been trained to check on their grades, check on their homework, check this, check that. I think I worry the teachers because I'm not always on Aries or Neo or whatever the heck we're supposed to be checking. And I've had a couple of teachers professors, they do email me and they're like, Paula, did you notice this about Conchita or Jose? And I'm like, oh, nope.
Nope.
So for me, I think that really attests to this idea that we don't exist to tell them what to do. We exist to point out their options.
Yes.
Right.
Help them get where they want to go.
Yep.
Yep.
So, questions. Do you have any questions, concerns of anything that you wanted to explore based on what we talked about or things that we haven't mentioned? Yes.
This was like earlier. I think it was like the first 10-20 minutes, but I just got like too shy to ask. You mentioned something about 3 classes or like 3 times we could drop something. I didn't really know about this right now, so I was wondering if I could get a little bit more information about it.
Yeah, so every term there's a standard drop deadline, right? And everybody knows about that because it's on Gold. And then everybody knows about the grading option deadline because that's on Gold too. What they don't know is that grading up between the drop deadline and the grading option deadline, students can actually file a late drop with the college. And during that period, we look at them leniently. They can actually file a late drop anytime during the term, but we look at it leniently between the drop deadline and the grading option deadline. And if it's a course they're taking for the first time, we will approve the drop for any reason, right? As long as it's not a repeat. Yeah, Paula, you.
Oh no, I wasn't raising my hand. I was saying basically they get 3 freebies where I could just.
Oh yeah, 3 freebies.
I don't like the class. I don't like the instructor. The class is too hard. Whatever the reason is, they don't have to provide documentation of anything. It's just I don't want to be in this class anymore. So it's basically 3 freebies during their entire college career.
And this is something that's relatively new because for you all, that wasn't around. It's only been a year that they've been able to do this. It's relatively new. Now. 2 years, I think.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. That the dean said, people make mistakes sometimes, and we're going to help them out. So.
Yeah. So the first one is a drop deadline. The second one is the lenient or grading option deadline, the lenient drop deadline. And the third is students can file a complete withdrawal all the way to the last day of instruction. During the regular quarter, it's easy to determine because it's the last day of dead week. During the summer, the last day of instruction is a little bit trickier. So we apply that a little bit more flexibly. And during the summer, we say for the complete drop for a single session, it's before they take their finals, before their finals are offered.
Yeah.
Before
so you got it now?
Final is offered.
Yeah. Was that clear?
Cool.
Thumbs up? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Other questions or concerns? What are you excited about? Yes, please.
I just had a comment. I just want to say the words you guys said were very inspiration and motivation. It's like a reality check vibe because many of us fail to acknowledge what college is really about and are too focused and are like just looking at grades and not knowing what they want to do, which is unfortunate. But if we get to explore, we might actually be able to succeed better in life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've come to these decisions not because we're brilliant. We've come to these decisions because we've seen it too much with students. We've seen far too many students our senior year who say, if I could do this all over again, I would do X instead of Y. So, I mean, we're smart, but we're not brilliant. We can think of all this all of our own. It's due to all the times we've spoken to students and spoken to our colleagues about what they see. But thank you for those words. Appreciate it.
And Jack, I think some of us are living examples of all the mistakes people make.
Yes.
Yeah, I learned from making mistakes.
Yeah, me too. No perfection found here.
This is what you're good at your job, right?
You know what? I got to say that I think it was Lyndon B. Johnson that said that mistakes continue to be mistakes unless you choose to learn from them.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that quote. It's like, yeah, man, when I learned that quote, I was like, yeah, that's my life right there. You know, like I can certainly agree with that. That's been something that's been there. Well, folks, wow, we are at the hour. Time flies when you're having fun, right? And is there any last minute things you just students that you wanted to just get out there before we close this session?
Thank you for coming through and sharing those wise words. I really appreciate it because I don't know if it was Jack that I talked to about this, because the first time I met him, I think it was like at an Ondas event.
Yeah.
And I remembered being a freshman and I was like, dang, like I don't even know what I'm going to major in. I came in undeclared, and I don't know. I think the fact that even though like we didn't get to talk as much after that, we still added each other on Facebook, and like his posts are very inspirational. I think it felt nice being able to be connected to someone who kind of was able to help me out in a way without him really knowing. So thank you again. And yeah, I think it's really like everything you said was so important about how like we have to find things that we really like, or it's kind of like our major, or like what we get a degree in isn't really going to help us because we didn't really learn anything except, oh, we have to keep getting more and more and more. But it's like, what happens when you get more and more? Like, it's like your knowledge is something that can't be taken away from you. So it's like,
Right.
Yeah. Thanks.
And
And
it
everybody
stays
else.
with you. It stays with you when it means something.
Yeah.
Yep.
Take it with you.
Okay.
All righty. Well, a big applause. We've been doing the snaps, folks.
Yay.
Even though you can't hear it, but at least you can see it.
Sometimes we're still on mute and we're all.
I know, right? And I'll go ahead and end the recording now. Thank you so much